This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
They thought they'd get away with it until now. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski, featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
The trial of Richard Allen, as of this recording, is set to begin mid-October, October 14th exactly, when jury selection will be starting. Of course, there's been a lot of delays. Not going to be shocking if there is another one. Joining me to discuss the case as we get closer to trial, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. One of the more recent requests by the defense was field trip. Let's get out to the site of the bridge and where the murders actually took place. We saw, of course, a little field trip like that take place in the Alec Murdaugh case. Tell me about that. What is this a good idea? The prosecution says, no, it's kind of dangerous over there. The landscape has changed. Any reason to not go? Why would it be a good idea to go? Why would it be a good idea not to go in something like this for either side?
The proper thing is for them to go. That's my opinion. The prosecution doesn't want them to go because they do not want them to see the proximity to Ron Logan's house. Mm-hmm. They don't want them to see the proximity to the road. They don't want them to understand the really, in a way, the openness of this situation and where it was committed, and the creek where the clothes were put, and then the redressing, how they were staged. I can see why the prosecution doesn't want that, because I just don't think it's in their favor. Even the down the hill portion of the tape that they're going to be watching and comparing to what they would see on that site visit, I think it's still going to be a great argument for the defense that this wasn't even him on the bridge. The early on estimates by in one instance, a very famous individual who said, listen, that person's 6 foot tall and was Ron Logan. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot out there. I don't think the defense probably is going to be able to bring much of it up because the third party culprit theories were completely quashed by the judge. I think that's going to come up on appeal. I just can't imagine it wouldn't. I mean, to not be able to mount any sort of defense, to have everything not allowed is just really unheard of, I think, especially when the FBI special agent who was involved in this case merely a month after the girls died, specifically cited all the probable cause against the other individual, Ron Logan. I'm just saying that whether Ron Logan was involved or not, it certainly could plant a seed of reasonable doubt for a jury. And, the defense should be able to be made, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, does it make a difference for them to see this spot in terms of going and looking and going, oh, do I think that guy over there is the one who could have done all of this? I mean, I suppose anybody, technically in a reasonable amount of shape could, execute this plan. But does it really make a difference? I mean, why would that sway the jury to see that and go, I don't think it was him, just because of the setting versus it would be somebody else?
Well, I think one of the things that's very important is the stature of Richard Allen. Richard Allen is a very short man. He's 5'4" on his driver's license, as I recall. And if you see his mugshot, he's somewhere between 5'4" and 5'5". He likely had shoes on during that mugshot. He's very small in stature. We can all see it every time he's brought in. And it looks like the agents and officers bringing him in are giants. But it's not that they're giants, it's that he's diminutive. So if you look at that size and the amount of control that would be needed in this open space to control two young girls, but they weren't much shorter than him.
Yeah.
So there's, I think, could place some reasonable doubt because of the openness of the area. In other words, why didn't they run? Was a lot of people think was somebody else involved. And again, these are just seeds of doubt that I think the defense team wants a jury to have to think about.
Sure. Without being able to go into this case for Richard Allen, defending him as not being the Delphi murderer, they can't use any of the Odinism story. They can't use any of the third-party culprit accusations and stories, and even, as you said, even an FBI agent came in and said, "Hey, look at all this." With that being said, how are they going to defend Richard Allen? I mean, what do they have left to stand on other than he's not your guy?
Exactly. He's not your guy. There's no alibi defense because years ago when all of this happened, he admitted to being there. In fact, he's the one that came forward to a conservation reserve officer and told the guy very informally, "Hey, listen, you wanted people to come forward. I just want you to know I was out there on the trail too." Remember, this was a day that was a day off of school. This Monon High Bridge area is a very usual place for people to go look at. It's a sightseeing place, if you will, and it's a place that a lot of people in that town and from around the town would go and visit. So there were a lot of people around that day. I don't know if people that aren't familiar with the case really understand that this was sort of a tourist attraction and a local attraction for individuals. So it made sense that people would be out there to a degree. But he's already placed himself there. So the alibi is done. He placed himself there recently when he was arrested or before his arrest, and then he placed himself there years ago as well. So alibi's out. The Keegan Kline issue, which I always thought it never made sense that one of the girls was in contact with Anthony Schatz, who was a fake account, basically, this gorgeous looking young man used to attract people for Keegan Kline, who was the child predator behind the keyboard. And one of the girls was in contact with him and talked about meeting him. A lot of people believe that that's how whoever was involved in this came to know that they would be there that day because of this meeting. So that played some role possibly, right? And then, of course, we talked about Ron Logan. And then the other theory that the defense wrote dozens and dozens of pages about was the Odinist idea because of how the girls were placed on the ground and what they said was a rune on the tree above the girls and so on. None of that's coming in. I don't know what in the world they could possibly use as any defense.
Strap in and get ready to go back in time. Gen X Time Machine is here to transport you back to the glorious days of neon, big hair, and cassette tapes that always needed rewinding.
To figure out where Tupperware went wrong, we kind of got to start at the beginning.
Remember when MTV actually played music videos? Or when lunch wasn't complete without Dunkaroos?
Yeah, a little bit like trying to recapture the magic of a bygone era.
Yeah. We're diving into all that and more. So if you want to relive the 80s and 90s in all their retro glory, hit up Gen X Time Machine wherever you get your podcasts.
VHS is looking like the obvious winner, right?
Oh, and don't forget the rise of the video rental store. Remember?
Subscribe, because who doesn't need another excuse to avoid adulting? You're welcome. The Gen X Time Machine.